Hello everyone and welcome to this session. Today I'm talking to Sania. Sania started as an apprentice with me at Microsoft and her career has excelled from then onwards. She's now working as a operations manager at Riverbed and she's going to talk to us today about her story. So over to you, Sania. Tell me a bit first about you always wanted to be an apprentice, but why did you want to become an apprentice, and who inspired you to do that?
Yeah, so for me, like apprenticeships weren't really a known thing or well kind of thought after, especially for kind of like the business stream of things until about when I was in year 11. At that point, the school that I was at really started to pull the whole apprenticeship message. And the reason for that was someone who used to be at that school actually got an apprenticeship at GSK and came back and did a talk about it as well. And hearing from him, it was actually really inspiring the fact that you get not only the real life experience and having that job, but then also kind of the real learning side of it. And then for me, I've always been a lot more kind of hands on with how I learn anyway. I'm not really good at reading from a textbook. So after hearing this inspiring message from this student that used to go to my school, and then also all the great messaging that the teachers were pushing at school, I thought, you know what, apprenticeship's the perfect for me. I'm going to give it a go. And yeah, it ended up being one of the best decisions of my life.
Brilliant. And so what helped you to make decisions about what apprenticeship you were going to do and where you were going to do that? How did you start to look for that? Where did you go?
Yeah, it's a bit of a minefield out there straight away, to be honest. I mean, obviously the internet, that was just kind of like the first thing I did. And then I'm lucky enough to have a few relatives that kind of in the business industry. So I kind of reached out to them, started talking to them, and did a few work experience placements as well, which really kind of gave me a good idea of what kind of field I wanted to go into. Because at that point I was sure I wanted to go into kind of like the business management side, but I wasn't sure like whether it would be marketing, sales, finance, etc. So I did quite a few work placements, just like a week at a time kind of thing, and I realized, okay, operations is where I want to be. So I kind of like nailed it down that way, and then from there I just kept doing my research, kept applying, and yeah, ended up at Microsoft.
So you definitely valued doing some work experience. So if anyone gets the opportunity to do that, that's a really good thing to do to help you sort of decide, because when anybody's going into their first roles, you don't really know how business works, do you? So it's quite a good idea to get in there and have a look.
Exactly, yeah. And then it kind of makes the apprenticeship seem a bit less daunting because you kind of know what to expect a bit as well then, because yeah, you know how people operate within each other, and yeah, you know kind of what the at least an overview of what the different functions do, and then you kind of see in your head, okay, this is how it all fits together. So yeah, definitely work experience if you have the opportunity to. Definitely try and make it happen.
Brilliant. Okay, so you applied to Microsoft, you got your interview, you're going to the assessment centre. It must have been quite daunting. How did you prepare yourself for that? And when you were going through that experience, what advice would you give to stand out from other people or to keep yourself calm? What advice would you give to others doing the same thing?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's for kind of I think for many of the kind of applicants, it's going to be one of their first kind of main interviews that they've given for a job, right? So yeah, it's, to be honest, it can be very terrifying. But one thing to think is you're there to learn at the end of the day, and it's a new experience. So if you think of it not as an interview or as a full-on assessment center where everyone's going to be scrutinizing your every move, it is an experience, and everyone else there is going through the exact same thing. You're not the only one, right? So try and make friends with everyone there, kind of support each other through it, because so for example at my assessment center, I think there were 3 or 4 of us who actually ended up getting the apprenticeship roles at the end. So because we'd already kind of made friends at the assessment center, even like when we started, we weren't completely new because we were able to kind of kind of come together based off of that assessment center. So it can be scary, but just kind of think of it as a new experience, think of it as something exciting. Yeah.
Right, and just be yourself, really. Just
Be
try it.
yourself, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
because it's as much you need to find out if you fit at the company as well. It's not just
yeah,
about them
very true.
seeing that you fit with them. It's the same for you. So absolutely, be yourself. And what about once you okay, so you got the job, it's your first day. How do you make the most of an apprenticeship? Because obviously it's a limited period of time, and there's not always a role guaranteed at the end of these apprenticeships. So how do you make the most of your time whilst you're there?
Yeah, so apprenticeships are really good for providing extra learning as well. So obviously you have your core learning modules that you do alongside the apprenticeships, but then any extra courses that they offer you, 100% go for those, because extra qualifications or actually extra learning courses always look good on the CV. So even if you don't get a job at that company straight after, you'll likely not have an easy time, but have an easier time finding a job elsewhere because you've got those extra qualifications on your certificate. And then also build your network. I think that's one of the things that has helped me so much in my career since being an apprentice, is having a really solid network of people who trust you, who know you, and are able to vouch for you almost for a new job if that's needed. And they can also kind of recommend you to other places if needed as well. So just build your relationship and keep people strong and close.
Brilliant. Now, I wasn't lying when I said that your career has accelerated since you left Microsoft. So tell us a bit about your career path, and first, so what from Microsoft onwards, and then maybe tell us a bit about perhaps what the future holds for you, what you're looking to do in the future, if you've got any idea about that at this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I did the apprenticeship at Microsoft, and then I was actually lucky enough to get offered a role there for another year, which I did. And I absolutely loved it. I learned so much, and it really kind of gave me a good kind of sounding board as to what a good career in a good company can look like. And then from there, I kind of decided, okay, I've been at Microsoft basically my whole career, right? So I kind of wanted a bit of insight into what other companies work like. So I went to another technology company, and I was a operations analyst at that time, basically creating dashboards and just being a data geek, really. So I was there for a few months, and then unfortunately the company actually got bought out, and my job got let go. But then I was lucky enough to actually get headhunted for the for the company that I'm at now, which is Riverbed Technologies. So I started out as an operations specialist there as well, and got promoted through. And now I'm an operations manager for EMEA, which is Europe, Middle East, and Africa. So I support an org of about 200 people solely handedly. So it's a lot of work, but I'm on the leadership team. It's really boosted my career. I'm in a really good spot, and I feel very lucky at 23 to be in such a senior position. It's amazing. And then for the next kind of career steps, I really like the operations world. I like the impact that we can have. So I want to definitely stay in the operations world, kind of move myself up the ladder further, and hopefully get to a point where I'm managing a team and have a really strong kind of structure beneath me as well as above me. So
brilliant. So in summary, I'm getting from you that really to be successful is to take every opportunity that comes to you, be yourself, network, and make sure you have a strong network. Is there anything else there that you add advice wise for anyone who's taking those first steps into a new role?
Yeah, be yourself. I think that's one thing that I struggled with at first, because you always have kind of an image of someone who works in a business, and you kind of want to fit that mold. But you'll find once you go into that mold, you kind of disappear into the background a bit. If you be yourself, really let your personality shine in everything that you do, and then suddenly people will recognize you and kind of want to get to know you more. And then that helps with the network building, and then it just kind of like grows from there. So be yourself in everything you do. Take every single opportunity, whether it's a learning course, whether it's presenting, even if it's not something you're comfortable with. It will look great on your CV, and it will let people start to know you as well. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much, Sania. That was such good advice for people, and a real role model for how apprenticeships can be successful if you put yourself out there and if you do a really good job. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thanks for having me.